Well, 3 weeks ago, Jack Trainor was telling us about the wonderful trip he was about to embark on to the States and also to Canada. Well, the 3 weeks have gone in the blink of an eye, and Jack's return, anything but bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but what an exciting trip he did experience. I caught up with Jack to discuss all the outstanding features of those 3 weeks. Well, Jack, those 3 weeks seem to have gone in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, that feels the same for me as it obviously does for you too, Mick. It was obviously went pretty quick, and like most holidays, you don't want to come home, but unfortunately my liver told me I did have to, and I thought it might have been a good idea to come back to business.
Jack, by the sounds of it, we're going to go through what you've been telling me. You've crammed about 5.5 weeks into that 3.
Yeah, that's right. There wasn't much laying around. It was pretty jam-packed, and obviously I managed to get to a few different spots, and a bit of horse racing, a bit of UFC, and a bit of everything in between. So yeah, it was a really good holiday, and sort of can't wait to get back.
It's commenced with a couple of your old mates, Todd McCarthy and Dexter Dunn.
Yep, so I caught up with both of them for a lot. Obviously when I stayed in New Jersey, I stayed with Dex for a weekend, spent a bit of time with him. Like I said earlier, it's been about 7 years since I've seen him, but it was like we sort of hadn't seen each other yesterday. Nothing's changed there. And also really good to see Todd as well. I spent about 2 weeks with him, went to a few race meetings with him, and Todd's recently got his pilot licence too, so he took me up in a little 4-seater plane, and we cruised down the Hudson River, looked all over New York one of the days, and then another day we went down right along the Jersey shoreline. So he'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous for the first takeoff, but he's put heaps of work into it, Todd, and he's pretty enthusiastic about it, and yeah, it was a pretty surreal experience, to be honest.
No doubt about the McCarthys, they're high flyers.
Yeah, that's right, like sort of everything Todd puts his mind to. He's obviously one of those people that's just able to achieve it, and he doesn't do anything in halves, and he obviously fully committed to this. And although I said to him it sort of felt like you just fell asleep and woke up a pilot one day, he put a lot of hours and work into it, and it was a pretty cool experience.
Let's talk about the experience then driving track work for Noel Daly.
Yeah, so managed to get out there just the one day, drove a couple for him. We actually done a 10-horse workout. 10 2-year-olds were just like in a race, two abreast, 5 by 5, and yeah, it was quite crazy, really. The system that they do and how they roll through so many horses on a really nice training complex. I'm glad I done it. I was sort of happy to get away from the horses for a bit, but that little itch halfway through the holiday sort of come on, and that was a good way to scratch it.
You managed to go to a couple of stud farms as well?
Yeah, I did. I managed to go to a stud farm in Canada, seen Muscle Mass, another horse slipped my mind a little bit. God, sorry about that, I can't remember it, but there was a few stallions that are locally known around here, and also went to a few training complexes as well. One in Canada in particular was unbelievable. Their training track would be as good as any of our 5/8 race tracks. Heaps of horses trained on the barn, and managed just to sort of walk around barn to barn and introduce myself to people and sort of trying to pick up on little things. But yeah, everyone was really showed a lot of hospitality, and really enjoyed that part of the trip.
Jack, was there a big difference to the way they prepare as far as we do?
Yeah, I think so. They definitely don't work their horses as hard. Like, it would be nothing for them just to work a mile in 2:20, and that's about it. And obviously their racing's probably a lot harder than ours here as well, but yeah, just to be honest, the whole thing was just different. The way they go about everything was different. Their feeding's different, their shoeing's different, and just the way they even run a barn. There's just a lot of grooms that would only handle 5 specific horses as such, instead of doing it as one big team. They just turn up of a day, look after their 5, and then go home, and vice versa. So yeah, it was quite eye-opening, and yeah, like I said, I'm glad I've done it.
Is there anything you can transfer from them to us?
Well, I suppose so. There's probably nothing in particular, just like little things. Like I noticed over there, a lot of them work 2 1-mile heats, something that I'd sort of thought about over time, that maybe I might start adding that extra mile heat into my training and see how it goes. Maybe just might make them that little bit fitter, but yeah, nothing that I could probably put my finger on as such, but at the same time too, I was sort of keeping a close eye on everything and picked up on little things here and there.
You got a chance to go to Mohawk?
Yeah, I did go to Mohawk. Unfortunately, when I was there was no races. They were actually fixing up the lights and resurfacing the track. But I was lucky enough, one of the head guys there was still good enough to show me around the stabling facilities and up the top, and it's actually very much like Menangle. Even the whole layout's very much like Menangle. It's the same size track, and sort of reminded me a lot of home, but about 30 degrees colder.
You mentioned the fact that the stewards take a little bit more of a back seat, and also the way the horses are handled as far as race day was concerned.
Yeah, that's right. It's probably the highlight of the trip. I didn't see a steward, so probably get in trouble for saying that. But it's just how it is over there. There's not much politics. There's no 10 drivers lined up in a driver's room at the end of the last race at midnight on a Saturday night. It's all runs pretty smoothly, and it's no different than us. There was interference and little things, but they just seem to have a system that works, and I really liked it.
And no doubt you caught up with a great deal of the champion trainers and drivers over there. They're treated like rock stars.
Yeah, they are. That's right. Obviously, it was really good to just go and being able to meet a lot of the trainers that I hadn't met, and obviously too some of the drivers that the big time drivers that we've always heard about from being young kids growing up, and just being able to hang around in the drivers' room with them. And it's a different life being a driver over there. It's a lot more like being a jockey here. You sort of just stay in your driver's room, collect the horse, going onto the track, hand back the reins coming off the track, and they all sort of regather. And like you said, a bit of that rock style lifestyle. And you look in the car park and there's full of Range Rovers and Porsches and Audis. So they're doing something right.
And some of those drivers you caught up with included your hero.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, my colours was I sort of took them off Yannick Gingras, who's been one of the leading drivers over there. He has the green with the white V's as opposed to my maroon with white. And I did make a few jokes about him stealing my colours, but I think he pretty much knows that he had them first.
And Jack, we saw Tim Treatrick display his world-class talents here during the World Drivers' Championship a few years ago, and Tim was one of those drivers you caught up with as well.
Yeah, that's right. Tim was there, and like I said, they're all just sort of down-to-earth fellas that we all have the same common interests, that we all love racing horses. And Tim's actually a neighbour to Andrew McCarthy, and I managed to get to Andrew's he was celebrating his birthday while we were there, and so we had a bit of a bonfire one night, and Tim and his wife Ash just come wandering across the paddock as such, and had a couple of beers with him. And like I said, it's unbelievable that they're just all just down to earth people, and really easy to get along with.
Now that covers that particular part of the trip. Now we head down to Miami. The saying goes, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I think now it says what happened in Miami stays in Miami. Definitely,
just in case my mum or my grandma watch this. But Miami was really good. It's obviously I went there to watch the UFC. It was a sold-out arena. It was something that I highly recommend anyone that's also a UFC fan tries to get to one day. It was unbelievable. I managed to get some really good seats. I was really close to the action, and managed to sneak my way in pretty close to the after party where Israel Adesanya and all his team were. I sort of put my head down and just made out like I was meant to be there, and got some real good spots. So it's definitely a flashy sort of place, Miami. It's quite expensive, and you can tell that there's quite a lot of money around there, but it's good for 2 days, but that's about as long as I could last.
So all the hype concerning Miami, as we used to watch in that famous TV show, Miami Vice, you certainly can recommend that that's true.
100%. What you see on TV there is actually what it is. It's a lot of glitz and glamour, and a lot of partying, and the fast cars or the flash cars, and it was definitely a place that I might have to try and win a few more races, but I'll definitely be back.
I was just going to say, it sounds like your lifestyle.
Well, yeah, to a lesser extent, it sort of showed me up a little bit there. Like I said, I could go hard for 2 days, but then after I checked the bank balance, I thought it'd be a good idea to go back and start sponging off Todd again.
Now listen, did you put your hand up for a horse or two? Did you just say this horse would go well down under?
Oh, no, not really. I think it's the other way around. I think our horses seem to go good over there, but there's just so many good horses over there. It was, nothing for them to go 150 or 149 at the Meadowlands, and then when I was at Yonkers, they were going 151 over the mile on an 800-metre track like it was nothing. So just so many opportunities there. There's just that many races and different tracks that you can go to place your horses, and that it really is just a sort of a bigger and probably a better version of what we have here.
You've probably got half a dozen runners going around on Saturday. I'm not going to put you under pressure by asking which ones you think. You've only just got in. You've still got a little bit of jet lag going, but great to see you back.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mick. Probably a good idea. I sort of forgot what I've nominated at the moment, but I do remember seeing Hooligan was pretty well drawn, albeit in a handy field, but I think he should be a lot better this week.
Thanks, Jack.
No worries. Thanks, Mick.